right, everybody, this is how we do it. We're back. Another edition of Rona Chronicles, High Off the Glass. We're here, everybody. You guys know how we do. We have an awesome guest here today. This gentleman, he is a criminal attorney in the city of Chicago. So you know he sees a lot of shit. He also is the creator of 420 Yoga. Him and a couple partners of his, they created 420 Yoga, which is exactly what you think it is, cannabis and yoga. Two very awesome things. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, welcome Johnathan Goldman into the fray, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Johnathan. I go by Johnathan. They call me Jay Gold sometimes. Everyone's got a nickname for me, but thanks for having me. Yeah, Magic. Well, Magic's my middle name. Right? I told you that. You knew that ahead of time. Thanks for having me, yo. I appreciate it, man. This is a pleasure. So
you're more than welcome, man. I try to have people on this show that are either advocates of cannabis or advocates of basketball or sports.
Okay.
And people that are trying to bring down the stigma. That's something that you're doing, you know. And I love the fact that you're doing it. Tell me a little bit about yourself, man. I know you live in Chicago now, but you're from somewhere else. Like, what's Johnathan's story?
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick backstory. I grew up in suburbs of Milwaukee, in Wisconsin, and then went to college in Madison at University of Wisconsin.
All right.
And then, let's see, got a degree in something there. Drank, I don't remember many of those years. But I also, when I was in Madison, I was an emergency medical technician, so I rode around ambulances, answering 911 calls and all that. So I did that for 3 years while I was in school, which was a pretty cool job. Hurt my back a little bit. Luckily, I had been pre-law, went to law school at DePaul Law. And then for the last 11 years, I've been doing criminal defense in Chicago and Cook County. So I'm trying to think. I don't know, all the time is all kind of warped right now, but last jury trial I did was a murder jury, which we came in second. But
what does that mean?
It means that the state came in first, or they were found guilty.
So basically, you lost.
Right, we lost. Yeah, I don't like to use the L word. I'm just kidding. No, we lose all the time. That's part of my job is to lose, but it's to make sure that the loss is not, as bad. So most of the time I'm just trying to get the best possible outcome for my client. But so I've been doing that. I worked on my own. I went right out of law school. Was right in 2007 I graduated. So right into the big recession. So I went out on my own, started my own practice, got with some other guys, lawyers, for about 7 years. Went to work for a bigger firm for a couple of years, doing setting up their criminal department, doing their senior counsel stuff. And then now I am back on my own-ish. I've got my own firm, but I also have 2 partners and then that are criminal lawyers, and then a couple civil partner in immigration. And us 3 criminal lawyers, we're going to take over that hole that Johnny Cochran and the Cochran firm left, because there's no criminal dream team in Chicago right now. You'd have to hire 3 different lawyers, pay each one of them, and their egos get in the way. We're offering 3 lawyers that have been around for a while, who know what they're doing, and who work with each other for a much smaller amount. So we're gonna be the dream team in Chicago. So keep your eyes peeled on this.
The Cochran firm, that's lofty goals right there. That's lofty expectations.
You know what? We gotta set your goals high. I mean, we're not half-assing it. I only get one shot at this whole life thing. So, anything worth doing, worth overdoing. But we were going to launch right after the elections for new judges in March, and then the virus came along, so we didn't get to do our marketing. So our marketing's on hold. So, but that's the plan. That's the plan is to grow the firm and just keep doing it. And right now we're zooming into court and doing all these things, trying to figure out what's going to happen when we open up first for actual court. But there's no actual. Everything's in limbo right now. So so I've been doing that for 11 years now. Only criminal defense. I don't do any other kind of law. Never a prosecutor. And I started yoga about 2 years ago. I got tricked into going to a class by a buddy of mine after everyone in my life had been telling me to go. and turned out to be the best thing ever. And then weed I've just been using for, oh God, 22 years. I don't know. Since I mean, just straight. I've been a smoker since I was like 17, pretty much straight up.
There you go. I respect that. Because I have so many questions. I got to go back to the
Go
law.
for it. Yeah.
You said one of the things you just said was I lose a lot. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, what it is I don't consider like if it's a plea of guilty and we don't have anything to take to trial, that I don't consider that a loss. But it's just if you run the percentages, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can be the best lawyer on earth. You're criminal defense lawyers. We lose. The state wins most of the time, and that's just the way it's designed. So you just really you have to be a good loser. You have to be as far as if there's a finding of guilty, at least they got their day in court, and you gave them the best representation possible. And getting a not guilty is always great. It's just not the norm every day. It's not like every day I'm going into court getting not guilties. But if I can keep someone out of jail or prison, that's kind of my goal. Most of my clients don't go for long prison sentences. I've had a pretty good track record of that. If they have to go to prison, so that's kind of it. Just tempering it, and then the trial. I mean, the trials are the fun parts. I mean, you get in front of a jury, it's great. But yeah, we're definitely the underdogs.
So are you one of those attorneys that tell your clients, hey, take the guilty plea and I'll make it lesser for you. You won't have to serve as much time. You won't have to do as
we're always doing both. So we're always working towards negotiating. If we can negotiate something good, like let's say it's a felony, that we can talk to the prosecutor, get it reduced to something that's not going to be a felony or something that's less effective. They're going to affect them less. We're doing that at the same time as getting all the discovery paperwork, police reports, sending my investigator out, doing all the investigation, getting ready for trial, so that we could go either way depending on how the case goes. It's kind of a, some are going to go to trial and some just end up going to trial. So,
okay.
So my clients, I mean, I'm brutally honest with them because I just can't be any other way, and I'll tell them what I think. They get the choice. But yeah, if we get an offer that we don't like, we don't take it. And then we negotiate more. So yeah, it's a lot more negotiating and a lot more day to day, just making sure we have all the paperwork, all the records, and then kind of going back and forth with there's a psychology of persuasion, which is an area of study that a lot of people, have picked up since like the 80s about how to request stuff and like how to negotiate. And it's called tactical empathy, where you get the other side to empathize with your position, and they're much more likely to give you things. So I do a lot of negotiating, it's a lot of people management, and then the real fun stuff is getting all prepped and getting my clients suited up, and then going in front of a jury and giving them the business,
Right. Well, you said you have investigators that have to check out this, check out that. My other question is, do you have, and I always wondered this, as an attorney, do you have enough time to check over the police's evidence to make sure that their stuff is accountable, is credible,
Always.
and then you can check it, and then have an investigator check it as well? Do you even have time?
What we do is if someone's been interviewed, made a statement, if someone's made an identification, that's what the investigator does. So the investigator will do the stuff that the police did, like interviews, and then we'll have our own report. And then what I get the reports the police give us, and I have to go through those and find the holes, find the issues, find out where we need to find more information, and then put together, a defense or put for a trial or put together a reason why we need to mitigate it or to get a lower charge. But I go through. I mean, I can't do that. I don't have the resources or the time to do a police investigation. And usually they give me most of the information and I just go off that. But yeah, no, I mean, you have to go through all the police reports. You have to go through every piece of the gun trace reports from where the gun, everything, every line you go over, because you never know when you're going to find that little golden nugget that's going to be, your ticket to a better result or a dismissal or not guilty. So.
Exactly. Okay. Last thing before I leave the law, because I've always been fascinated by that. What's the craziest case or individual that you ever had to deal with? Like, what was that?
Shoot, I'm trying to think. I mean, it's. I think I've been desensitized to crazy now.
True.
Let's see. Shoot.
Think civilian crazy, like us folks crazy that don't see crazy on a daily basis like you may do. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know what, the bar fights that escalate into murders and attempt murders are the ones that are always crazy, because they'll be talking 1 second, the next second, I had one where there's guy broke a bottle and slashed a guy across the throat. There's one, but I had a story from one case that I told that was, the craziest thing I ever saw was I mean, this wasn't crazy as in like so crazy nobody believed it, but a retired sheriff's deputy who was working security at the juvenile building, who had multiple sclerosis, broke up a fight between his, I think his nephew and some other gangbangers. And he took the gun out from his nephew and locked it in his car. And the mom of the other gangbanger called the cops and said he was threatening them. The cops said, "You got the gun?" He said, "Yeah, I locked it in the car." Meanwhile, this is a sheriff's deputy, but he doesn't have his firearm card, shows his badge, and they say, "All right," after the lieutenant cleared, lieutenant said, "You're good, thanks for doing that." They came back and they arrested him for felony possession of a firearm without a card. And so we had to go to jury trial on that.
For a sheriff's deputy?
Well, he was retired from he was still working for the sheriff. He was a retired deputy and didn't need a firearm because he worked at the juvenile facility. So he didn't have that firearm permission card because it wasn't necessary. And after all the other cops had come by and all the white shirts came by and said thank you, they must have got a new shift or something. They just arrested him. And the cops apologized after the trial.
Was he black? He must have been black.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
well, no, because to be fair, all my clients, a lot of my clients are black, and he's actually, he had no record. Obviously, would have been a sheriff's deputy, no record. Exemplary. Just a great guy, and it's just messing with his health, and we have to go to full-on jury trial. We play so we got the 911 tapes, of course.
Wow.
And we play the 911 tapes when we've got the mom on the stand of the other kid.
Yeah.
And it's her basically making shit up and basically making everything up, saying, "Oh yeah, he's at my door, he's doing all this," and then witnesses say no, and she's like, "I don't know if I called the cops," and I was like, "All right, we're gonna play defense exhibit number 1 for you." And we brought the speakers out and we played the first 911 recording. She was like, and we were like, "Is that no? That's your voice, correct?" And she was like, I don't know if that's my voice." I'm like, "All right, we're playing you a defense exhibit number 2," and we played it. It was her, and she's like, "This is, or she's like, my son and this and this." And then the third one, once she said, "I don't know," and the third one, we were like, "Okay, we're gonna play you defense exhibit number 3," and we used her name. And you said that you don't recognize the voice, correct? Okay, here's defense number 3. Defense number 3 starts with the 911 Chicago, and she says, "Hi, this is whatever her name was."
Yeah.
And this is what's going on with my son. And we're like, "Was that your voice?" And on that tape, and she was like, "I can't tell. I don't know about the speaker." And the jury was just laughing. And the judge was like, "It'll speak for itself." I was like, "Thank you, Judge." That's it. That's just it. But that's just like a minor anecdote. It's just, there's so much crazy stuff that happens all the time that I think, I don't even know if it passes through my filter most of the time.
How long did that trial last?
Monday through Friday. Picked on Monday, closed on Friday.
A whole week.
Felony trials take usually a week.
Wow. And the state charges ex-retired deputy with a felony. Wow. Yeah,
it was, and at the beginning I was talking to the prosecutor who got transferred from that room for whatever reason they do transfer people, and he was getting ready to put it up top, run it up the chain so they could dismiss it. then they got a new prosecutor who wanted to keep going, and so we were stuck doing a full-on jury trial with all, audio, visual, and all this, all this stuff. But we got not guilty. It was the shortest jury deliberation I've ever seen. I think it was long enough for them to find the form that said not guilty and sign it.
Yes. Thank you. That poor man, right on.
It was terrible. That was one of the rough ones, but no. And then I got some good ones. I got to scream, "Get the fuck down!" to a jury.
It scared the shit out of me. I didn't get how you broke up. What?
So, okay, I'll back it up. So as part of this, it's an armed robbery case. Someone said they identified my client, but in truth, it was just another gangbanger saying he was involved. And the victim says that someone came up to him with a gun to his back and ordered him to the ground and said, "Get the fuck down on the ground now, don't," and he claims he looked back and was able to see the guy's face and all these features, what he was wearing, and, he was calm enough to do it. So in my closing, and I cross-examined him on, well, you weren't expecting this, right? No, and it's not often you have a gun put to your head and are ordered to the ground and yelled at. No. So this was a surprise. Yeah, you were just trying to stay alive, right? Yeah. So in my closing argument, I went behind the jury, to the side of the jury box, because the state goes first, and they weren't sure what I was doing, and they looked straightforward because it's just what they do, and I can't even reproduce it because this is my loudest booming voice in one of those big courtrooms. Right to the jury, I went, "Get the fuck down on the ground now!" And it was they leapt. They leapt like 2 feet in the air, each one of them. And I went from there, and I was saying, a little surprising, right? Now, how many of you are going to tell me that the first thing you're going to do is look back at the person telling you to get the fuck on the ground with a gun? How many of you? How many of you are going to focus on that? That's more important than your lives? And that combined with some other stuff, it ended up being a not guilty. Bad identification. The cops also found someone else's phone and an ID card when they were chasing.
Dude, Jonathan, I'm going in my mind right now like what I would do if somebody did that to me. Right, I'm thinking I got to get my kids to get the fuck out of there. Yeah. That's some crazy shit, man.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm not there, so I'm never there for the crimes. Like when I was working in the ambulance, I was there for the emergencies, so I was there. But here I have to kind of reconstruct it and put myself in there, so you have to be a little more creative. But yeah, there's a lot of psychology involved, a lot of studies on, especially eyewitnesses. Like that's the thing that gets people death penalties, they're when they're innocent.
Right.
And we got to fight that. And a lot of times we're fighting a losing battle and we know it, but we got to get it on the record so that it goes on appeal. I mean, I've had a couple of cases just straight up reversed because the judges, one judge who on video, when the cop said, "You have the right to remain silent, you have the right to an attorney present during any questioning, blah, blah, blah. You understand these rights?" My client said, "Well, I have a question. I have an attorney. Can my attorney be present during questioning?" And they said, "No, that's not how we do it." And then they read it again to make sure he understood. He was like, "Well, my mom hired an attorney. It's this person. It was me. Can I have him here?" And they're like, "Nope, we don't do that." And the judge, and obviously they didn't stop the interrogation. He's like, "Okay." And so they did the interrogation, got a false confession. And the judge said, "Well, I don't see anything else they could have done. They gave him his rights and he waived his right to an attorney." And I filed a bunch of motions in the appellate court, basically. And then we ended up going through the whole trial. And, this is weeks of trial, too. And he finally got convicted of 2 counts of kidnapping, or attempted kidnapping, and got, I think, a 6-year sentence. And the appellate court came back and said, absolutely not. Like, their opinion was like 1 page long. They were like, this goes completely opposite to
the appeals? Not the appeals court. Who'd you say?
The appeals court. Yeah, you get an automatic appeal in Illinois if you get convicted, and then you get a free appellate defender. So it got up to the appeals court, and they said, this is not Miranda rights. This is not how you do Miranda rights. And so they had to send the whole case back after years of pretrial and trial and witnesses and stuff, and it's going back for a new trial now. So someone else is doing that new trial. I've had a couple that have just been straight up reversed, and those are great. When the judge is like, "Hey, there's no, the appeals court's like, you know what? Nobody in their right mind would find this person guilty. So they're just like, no, you can't charge us again.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome, man.
it's fun. It keeps me on my toes, and it keeps me interacting with people, and
Right.
just, I like nice to get a good result too, help someone out.
Exactly. What it's so awesome that you do that. But I remember you telling me it's life changing what you do. But you said before you were ambulance, you were
Yeah, I was an emergency medical technician. Yeah. So
how did you go from paramedic to, first off, what made you want to be a paramedic?
since I was a kid, I wanted to. That would have been my choice. That would have been my career if I hadn't had a back injury. But I always wanted to, and I met someone in my dorm freshman year of college who was on one of the services, and they put her through school. So I applied, and they hired me on and put me through EMT school, and then I just started riding on the ambulances, and it was, I was my second senior year I was able to do it. So I'd have class because I only had 6 credits. I had Tuesday, Thursday classes, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday I worked a 12-hour shift. And it was great. It's something I always wanted to do. I like medicine. I like adrenaline, obviously. I mean, the feeling when you're sitting around and then you're just watching TV, you're cooking, and that the pager goes off, and it's a loud ass like, and then the speaker goes on, and all the lights go on, and like, you got to jump in the rig, and you don't get a second to think or anything. You're jumping in and you're going. It's a good feeling, yeah. Out the door.
Why'd you stop?
I hurt my back on a call.
Oh.
We were lifting a patient, and the cot or the stretcher wasn't properly maintained, so the wheels were supposed to go down to take the weight, and they didn't go down. So instead, we ended up, so he wouldn't flip over, dropping him down to the lowest level, and that was pretty much it. I felt the yank, and I had to drive. Luckily, I was driving, so I drove to a close ER because we were going to a close one. And then I just checked myself into the ER, and from then on, I couldn't do lifting anymore, so I couldn't do the job. But I had already done pre-law, so I had a backup plan. But yeah, it was unfortunate that I didn't stay there. But I would have liked to. But it's a tough job, a lot of young burnout. You get burned out early and injury prone, so.
And you would have stayed being a paramedic forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would have done it. I would have, and then at a certain level you can start doing, flight paramedic, and you can, there's all sorts of different things they can do. Now they're doing community paramedicine, and the helicopter stuff and fixed wing. There's just so much they can do, and they keep adding on more and more. You're just a mobile ER. Yeah. And so a lot of the things they can do in the ER, except for, and even imaging that you can do on those, a lot of ambulances, like they have ultrasounds now on ambulances, like that you can send to the doctors. It's cool. And the technology it's evolving, but it's still the same basic medicine. So it's fun, and it's stressful at times, and there's a lot of downtime sometimes, and there's a lot of, go. But overall, I always look forward to it. Yeah. And there was never a time where I would go into a shift and be like, great, another shift on the ambulance. Like, you never knew what was going to happen. Like, it was amazing. It always amazed me what people will do to each other. That's the same thing with criminal defense. People just in how they hurt each other, and like what people will do to other people. Yeah. Because I was, I didn't have much exposure to that, but then I started running first holiday shift. We would go from domestic battery to domestic battery to domestic battery to domestic battery. I was like, nobody can handle being with their family, and then just the ways people would just hurt each other. That took a little getting used to, but I made it the whole time without delivering a baby. That's all that I asked.
When you were what?
I never delivered a baby, and that was all that I cared about. I did not want to deliver a baby, because it's just not my thing. Some guys, some medics want to. They want to. I don't know why. It's kind of messy, and I mean, I had the other thing is it was a lot of times 2 guy medics in the rig. So if someone said, "Oh, I feel like I have to push," or whatever, one of us had to check for what's called crowning, and that requires having someone take their pants off to look to see if there's a baby's head.
Yeah.
And if it's 2 ridiculous dudes like me and most of the people I worked with, like
That's what it's about, Magic. You have to be a professional. You have to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you
do that shit. Yeah.
Well, I would usually, if I had another male partner, I would have my male partner block the back windows of the ambulance with their body because they're all bigger than me, and then I would do the quick check. But like, it was the whole job was a blast. It really was good people, camaraderie, and like, it could be 3 a.m. and you could just all of a sudden, boom, have the craziest thing happen, or a craziest call. Like, I've got some car accident photos.
You were in Vegas at this time, right?
No, that was in Wisconsin.
It was in Wisconsin? What part of Wisconsin?
Milwaukee and Madison.
Milwaukee and Madison. That's so funny. My family is from Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah?
I love that you're from there. And my aunt graduated from University of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, that's where I graduated. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a good place, but I had to get to Chicago. Yeah. I had to get to a bigger city. Small.
Give me one of those 3 a.m. stories that you were about to give me a good 3 a.m. story.
Well, the 3 a.m. story, they would usually be one of 2 things, and one of a couple things. Usually, it's going to make people laugh, but usually it would come doo-doo, and they'd be like, attention unit 424 to whatever location for the GI bleed. And I say GI bleed, which means rectal bleed. And that seemed to come in the middle of the night. That was a middle of the night call, and we would get rectal bleeds in the middle of the night all the time. And then we had our repeat customers, and a lot of people didn't have explanations as to why they were where they were at the time. And like, I think we had one patient with no legs, maybe no arms. And we'd, it just, man, I wish I could pull up like a good memory from it. But the middle of the night calls, we'd get, in Milwaukee, we'd get the shootings and stuff in the middle of the night. Because that's, like midnight, but we're still up. Like, I can't sleep when I'm on a shift usually.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's not where I thought you were going to go with that.
Yeah. No. I you know what? I'm trying to think of a story. I'm trying to think of a crazy call, but I'm just I'm blanking. Just blanking right now. I can come back to you with some.
We'll come back to it, and plus we're going to leave it at that because that was wild in and of itself. Now my question is, what brings this ex-paramedic, current criminal attorney, what brings him to having a marijuana cannabis company? So how does cannabis? Well,
it was my partner Ellie, who's he's a French Olympic bobsledder, which is cool. He's on. It's like Cool Runnings, but in French.
Right.
And so that's his job. And he had a meetup group, and it was just on Meetup 420 Yoga. And I sent him a message like, "Hey, I think this is a great idea." And sorry, my just went out real quick. And I had been doing yoga for a while, and had been, engaging in the practice of 420. I don't know what the euphemism is. I always like to smoke a little bit before yoga. Got some of my favorite strains that I have picked out right before yoga. And I go with a buddy of mine, and we smoke in the car, and then go into do our yoga classes at our regular when we had people studios when there were humans around before the zombie apocalypse.
Exactly.
And so it always worked for me, and I always had better classes. I was better able to. I just felt better, and I also it's a different way of getting into the yoga stuff and different way of looking at it, and it's an experience, you know. It's yoga itself is an experience. I mean, it's wonderful. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me, right along with weed. But yeah, so he had this group, and then I messaged him, and we started talking and realized that, you know, we actually may have something here, and that the interest, you know, was peaking, and it was coming up to 420. So we just decided, all right, we're going to do a April 20th at 420 Zoom celebration. And my part was socializing. We are going to be socializing, and then, which means smoking. So we had a countdown to 420, and then yay! And then our first instructor did a yoga instruction for about 30 minutes, and then last Thursday, the 14th, we did another one with actually one of the professional instructors from one of the like chain studios. She's a manager, but they're all laid off right now. She's a friend of mine, so she was our instructor for the last one last week. So we actually had a totally different flow, totally different feeling, and we're trying to get that on, you know, the awareness and just get people interested, so that when we're allowed out of jail, when we get our paroles here, we can actually like do stuff in this, you know, in person would be the goal. But we still want to stay online so that we can have a community. It's about, you know, people. We're trying to take away the stigma of cannabis now that it's legalized here.
And that's exactly why I wanted to have you on the show, for that exact purpose, trying to take away this stigma on cannabis. How do you all directly incorporate, you know, cannabis into the yoga?
Well, I mean, right now we're at the point where it's just kind of BYOC, you know, everyone's on Zoom. So it's just kind of smoking it before, but the plan is to start, you know, be more social and experience cannabis, and then have, you know, recommendations of certain strains, and potentially partner up with a dispensary at some. I don't know what the long-term plan is, but exact in specifics. But the plan is to really have a space where it's all you know, acceptable, and not people ashamed to do it. Like, I mean, even me as a lawyer, you know, it took me a bit to get over the whole. I mean, I've had my medical card for years, so I've been able to get medical cannabis, but it still took me a bit to, you know, be able to actually talk about it, because it's just been so many years of indoctrination that, like, weed is illegal, and then all of a sudden it's legal according to the state. So, you know, now it's the equivalent of having a beer, you know, a beer. Like, if you want to have a beer with your buddies, you know, but go for it.
See, you guys have rec and medical in Illinois. You have that advantage.
Yeah.
I'm in those states. We're a little behind, but we're not too far behind. We got medical. We just don't have rec yet.
Yeah, and I mean, and medical's not too tough to get the card. So I don't know how it is there, but here they want you to get it.
It's not really that hard.
Yeah, and also the good thing about medical is that it's a lot cheaper, and you get a better selection. They save the good stuff. They have to have a certain amount for the medical patients. So the rec people only get a certain, you know, certain different strains, certain different stuff, you know. But medical, we get all the good stuff without the taxes of like 38% or something like that.
So were you able to get medical before dispensaries opened up in Chicago or Illinois?
They were already open for medical for years. They were open for medical for about 4 years before January 1st now, when they got their rec licenses. So they all had to kind of adapt. The bill passed last year in, I want to say February or March, so they had less than a year to get ready for recreational, all these dispensaries.
Who was open 4 years ago ready to go?
All the current dispensaries in Chicago.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
they've been doing medical for a couple of years now, so they know. So they had the system down. It was just they had to switch to add people waiting in line for hours and all that, and recreational.
So
but
you had to get your medical. Did you have to get it from a doctor, or you can go directly to those dispensaries and get it?
No, you have to get it through a doctor, but I mean, it's not difficult. When I did it, they had to do fingerprinting and all sorts of stuff. Now they've made it so you get like in 24 hours. It took like 3 months, and you had to get they would do it all in one swoop. My doctor's office did it because they participated, and then you just need a recommendation from a doctor that you're a qualifying medical patient, and you're fine. But I mean, I had multiple conditions that qualified. I have spinal injury, and I've got some other stuff. So I just brought in my MRI reports, and I was like, here's my MRI report, and she's like, oh, T6 or T3, T4, okay, all right, thank you. She signed it off on it. Like spinal
wow.
discs.
Wow.
So, but yeah, having rec has been interesting. It's not, it hasn't had any huge cons. I think it's probably gotten a lot of people through this craziness on lockdown. I mean, just the fact that, and you don't have to worry about smoking. That's the best part.
Right.
I mean, you're not supposed to smoke in your car but you can smoke in the car when you're not driving. So they don't really care. And the cops don't give a shit about weed. They never did. But it was a good source of revenue and a good way to search cars. Oh, it smells like weed. That's the other thing. I've been talking to cops about how it's affected. They're like, oh, we don't do weed arrests, but also, we have to get some more instruction from the courts on if it's enough to search a car because of the smell of weed. And they're still searching. They'll search. I mean, they'll find a reason to search. It's just it's just a question of whether or not I'm going to be able to knock that search out in court. So, but yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy that we can put yoga together with it, and even, you know what? I'm getting a spam call from a number that almost is my number. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Anyway, I don't know how they do that.
When they do that shit, I hate that.
It's tricky, man. And I'm like, it's like it's a horror movie. Like, it's coming from upstairs.
It's okay.
The phone number is coming from upstairs. It's your phone.
Grab me another beer. Oh. While you get a spam call, I'm grabbing another beer.
Oh, please, absolutely. It's not a Corona, is it?
No, hell no. I don't do.
I don't drink that shit anyway. What's that?
I don't do the virus or the. I don't do the virus.
Oh, Negro Modelo. Good beer. Good. Yeah, I don't like the Corona beer. Sucks. And you know what? If they cause this virus, we're gonna have to do something about it. We're gonna boycott Corona until they make better beer. Until they make an IPA.
I've been boycotting Corona for a long time. Shit.
Yeah.
For Modelo.
Yeah.
Modelo was weird.
No, that's a good choice. Corona's a beach drink. It's like you're on a beach and like someone's bringing you a drink with a lime, and it still tastes like shit. And it's warm, but
Pretty much.
But yeah, this virus has been crazy, man. I mean, I'm looking at my calendar and trying to figure out what day it is, and like figure out like how long we've been locked up. But
what's the next? It does suck, man. The only thing for me, it's kind of changing. For you too, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. June 1st, you have to go back in the building. You have to physically.
Well, we'll probably, the guess is we'll get the order May 29th from the chief judge. What's going to happen on June 1st? That's what usually happens around here. But the plan is to have Zoom hearings from our offices or home. At the beginning, with defendants not having to come in, but then they run into a little thing called the Constitution, and you have the right to a public trial, you have the right to confront your accusers, you have the right, and you're also required to be there. And the other, so they suspend. The Illinois Supreme Court came out with just straight up orders saying we're suspending speedy trial, so you don't have the right to a speedy trial anymore. So basically, because of the emergency, you can't demand that your trial be held in 120 days if you're in custody or 160 days if you're out of custody. You just have to wait. And so people are sitting in jail waiting for trial or out waiting for trial, and they can't demand speedy trial, can't hold the state to any sort of burden. And so it's the defense that gets screwed. The state's going to be able to come back. I mean, they're the state, they're the government, so they're always able to come back. But for for us, it's gonna thin the herd. You're gonna see who is able to weather the storm, and it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a mixture of technology and action. I mean, and we will get back to court because it's not gonna last forever. They can't keep people out of court in criminal court, just because. I mean, jury trials. I know. Okay, you can't have a jury that's 6 feet away from each other. It's impossible. So we're not doing jury trials until they figure that out. But we're not going to do jury trials on Zoom or Skype or anything like that. So it's going to come back. The virus, who knows? It run its course. People die. I don't know. Hopefully they learn something from the lockdown. Hopefully, if there is something else like that, hopefully they figured out that a full lockdown was a bad idea. Realize that the members say that a lot of except for nursing homes, which is like half the cases, a lot of the cases came from people being locked down with people that were high risk or immunocompromised. So you'd have, family members who were healthy and young, may get the virus and have no symptoms, but they were locked, and they're going everywhere, but they were locked down with, everyone else because everyone's locked down. So there's no separation between the people who were at risk and the people who weren't. And so that accounted for a big number of infections, which is crazy. So I think and it'll all come out once they do the statistics and get some more testing. And I don't know what's going to be the final verdict, but I don't think the United States will accept a full lockdown again, not for this long, especially considering.
I don't think it's really been a full lockdown. It's kind of been a lockdown for different careers. It's really
it's been a
job is.
Right. Yeah, and that's been the worst thing is going from having a job to going to nothing. Just next day. I mean, and then they shut down the schools, despite the fact that the virus doesn't affect kids. That didn't change anything once they realized that. Shut down the schools, everyone's got to take care of their kids. Yeah. So, people can't afford, not everyone can afford a nanny 24 hours a day. So they can't work. Companies don't have money to pay people. They lay people off. Those people can't pay me. And then we're all fucked because you got to pay me. That's my thing.
And you got that. You're right about that, but that's where that unemployment came into play. And I pray that those people got it. I know a lot of folks, I don't understand why there's people still 2 months later, 2.5 months later, that still haven't received anything. To me, that's bullshit.
No idea.
It's totally sustained me. If I did not have that during this time, I wouldn't have a show right now. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a PPP, payroll protection, federal loan because I'm in a small firm. So, but that took 2 months before I got it. So I was basically scraping by on like couch change and shit for 2 months while they're trying to get this together. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to going to a restaurant and sitting down and eating a meal. That'd be the shit. Yeah. It's the little things.
Yeah. I know one thing. There's some restaurants here in St. Louis that have opened up. I know you probably have some in Chicago that have opened up with the social distancing in the restaurants. Are you like at the point where you're like strictly you're staying at home every day? You're not going to parks. You're not walking around. You're not.
Well, right now we're entering phase 2 of the reopening, where they're saying go to parks, but stay social distancing. But the lakefront is shut down. The whole lakefront and Lakeshore Drive getting off, so you can't run on the Lakeshore path. If there's like a basketball game going on that's more than 10 people, they'll bust that up. But obviously that's not going to happen in certain neighborhoods. It's going to happen in other neighborhoods where the cops are going to bust up a big basketball game.
All of Michigan is closed? All that shit is closed?
Yeah, all Lake Michigan, everything in the city is closed. No beach, no path.
Wow.
So, I mean, that beautiful view you see of like the Hancock building when you're driving down, and then the water's next to you, there's nobody there. It's just empty. When it's sunny and 80. All those businesses down there can't do business.
Does this go out to, is this a Chicago City? Is this Chicago land? Does it go out to Waukegan and all that too? Or Is it just the city?
This is just the city of Chicago. The other it's pretty much going to be a city by city or county by county type determination. I think, and Cook County as well. But Chicago, just because it's so much different as far as population density and just where people physically are and where they go and the train and all that, has different metrics than the rest of the state. The rest of the state was ready to open before us. We finally got to like whatever number they needed of new cases, like less, we decreased enough new cases that we could move into reopening. But you can't sit in restaurants right now. You have to do curbside pickup. So you got to order ahead.
Yeah, that's what we have mostly here. We have some restaurants that just opened up Monday because the city and the county here in St. Louis has relaxed their rules. So people are starting to open up. I have to go back to work next week. Different places are forcing, people to come back to work. Unemployment time is, pretty much over. But that's how it is. That's how it is right now.
I mean, I'm looking forward to going back to work. I mean, I've been working-ish this whole time, but I'm looking forward to having steady. I mean, that's 10, 11 years straight of getting up every morning, going into court, doing my court thing, having lunch, seeing my court buddies, and and then going to the office. Like, I was used to that. I liked it. I knew everybody. It was like cheers and shit.
Yeah.
But
you get it. I hear you on that. It's just, for me personally, I work in a place where I don't have, and you do too, where I don't have social distancing. Right. Where I work at, we're in close proximity to everyone else. So I don't know how comfortable I'll feel going back to work. And then this new PPE that they're going to make us wear, personal protective equipment, this stuff, I have to wear that for like a 8-10 hour period.
Which is, there's consequences to that too.
Hey, that stuff is crazy. So that stuff I'm thinking about, it's kind of not, it's really not fair. And I don't know. So on one hand, I am ready to go back to work, but on the other hand, how different is it going to be? And can we just, stay out more? Can we? Be honest with you, I'm different than you because our quarantine. We've had a quarantine here in St. Louis, but it's been a little more laxed than it has in Chicago. But I haven't been going anywhere. I'm store, home, may walk around, take my bike out, take the kids out. We do our thing, but other than that, I'm really ready to stay home for another month just to help.
Stop.
And with this virus, man. Let's get rid of this fucking virus.
Yeah, and it's I got rid of cable a while ago, but I don't watch TV news because I got all the streaming stuff. But it's gotten to the point where nobody knows. I mean, even as someone like me who understands a little bit about and not just enough about medicine, and science to understand it, but not enough to actually be able to really know what's going on. There's no one source of information you can trust. So there's just no way to know like what the problem, like what's happening and what's safe. So we're looking at other states that are now open to figure out if what's happening there. And then if everyone dies there, we'll probably stay locked down. But they're not. But,
exactly.
But you can't. We'll print money our way out of this.
Right. We'll just keep printing. I mean, and that's the thing. That's why you never understand what the government says they're broke because we're broke. We have debt. You print the fucking money. You make your
right. I know, and that's why we're going to be fucked because it's going to go into recession. Money's worth nothing. It's just you just can't print money. You can't keep printing money. But also, all this money we get is our money. We're taxpayers.
Right, exactly.
It's not the government. I mean, we're paying ourselves these.
This is our own money that we pay every fucking day and every day.
Yes, and even unemployment insurance you pay into every paycheck. So I don't want people. Don't be too excited that you're getting a little bit of your money you paid to the government. Not to be political, but.
You're exactly right. And the funny part is, even with the unemployment, they have the nerve to put a fucking cap on it. They have a nerve to say you're only getting this much. You know what I'm saying?
it's not a living wage.
Yeah. Say what?
It's not a living wage a lot of times.
No, it's
They
not.
want to do like a percentage.
Oh no. If dude, I'm gonna tell you like this. If it wasn't for what the feds put on with it, people would be the country would be fucked.
And there'd be nothing anyone could do either. The landlords can't do anything. Like,
right? You know, I mean,
you want to be able to buy food.
Yes, because your regular state your state unemployment, if you get it every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, it's not enough. You can't live on that shit.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Oh hell no.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, this was unprecedented. I mean, in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like this. But there's just so much uncertainty and so much politics in it that I can't take in every piece of political news or every piece of news that comes from every outlet with different information. It's not worth it for me. I try to take in only reputable sources, but I don't know what's a good source, so I don't know who to listen to. So I'm trying to be safe, but at the same time, I'm realistic. I don't need a mask when I'm outside. Yeah. There's a big what do you call that thing around the Earth atmosphere? There's an ozone layer and atmosphere and space, and virus will go elsewhere. I'm not gonna walk down the street with a mask on. I'm not gonna drive my car with a mask on. I'm not an idiot.
You're not gonna go in the store with a mask on?
No, I will go into walk down the street. Okay. No, in the places like that where they're close, and I don't even know how much. I mean, those everything. Everyone's touching anything anyway. I always wear gloves.
Yeah.
Too, but that's where you're closest to people, and also people are uncomfortable if you're not wearing a mask right now, which is a weird state of affairs because you can't see anyone's face. I mean, and personally, I like to see people's full faces just because it's a person. Then it's not just it's almost like an emoji or whatever they call it. Like you're looking like a representation of people because you see a mask and eyes, but like. Yeah. People are social distancing and my term is a joke at first. I said I'm not social distancing. I'm just going to emotional distancing because that's easier. I have fear of commitment, but people are afraid of each other. They're afraid to talk to each other, like say hi, like on the street when you're both wearing masks. It's bizarre, and now they are supposed to come back out of it. I don't know if. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, and I don't know how people are gonna act, and I don't know if it's
You're right. When I go out, when I have my mask on, I kind of speak like I normally would speak to people, and it's been a little different. But people still speak back. Is it less?
Yeah.
But I think when we come out of this, general. People being courteous to one another. I think that'll come back.
Yeah, and I mean, in physical proximity, and I've even noticed lately that people hold doors and stuff. Yeah. Nobody, we're in the Midwest, so we're not, we're nice people. But it'll come back. It's just I don't know. I think it's interesting as someone who deals every day with human behavior and figuring out psychology and. And you're trying to read people. That's a big thing. Right. The first thing you do when you meet someone, you read them. You get a first impression, and that's based on their entire aura, their handshake, their build, their way they walk, and a lot of it's their face, their micro expressions. If their face matches what they're saying, that type of stuff you don't get it. So all you see, someone today. Had a dog, and I was walking, she pulled it back so it wouldn't come near me. And I was like, oh, it's fine. And she smiled, and I smiled, and I realized I had my mask on because I just came out of the doctor's office. I was like, I'm sorry, I smiled under my mask, I promise.
Yeah. She couldn't tell, exactly.
Yeah, and I felt bad. I was like, shit, I got to take this, And so I think that's going to be a weird part. Courts opening is going to be the courts are going to be very, very slow to let families in and stuff like that, and let a lot of people in, because when you got a full courtroom in the gallery, you're sitting right next to someone at all times.
Oh yeah.
There's not enough room, and so they're being pretty conservative. But again, we've already pushed off all court, not just criminal court, all court cases for 2 months now, pretty much. That means divorces, that means lawsuits, that means all sorts of stuff. And then of course my clients who have constitutional rights that have been taken away. So there's gonna I don't know. I mean, I hate the phrase new normal, because I don't think it's going to be a new normal, but I think it's going to be a longer transition than just like, a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Like and this is a collective post-traumatic stress disorder type thing, where I think it's going to be a while before we're back to, actual physical contact. I mean, not everyone, but actually, where you're okay with shaking hands or, or bump or like you bump shoulders with someone on the elevator, or be on an elevator. I think we'll get back to that, but when people are comfortable, I have no idea, and I don't know when that's going to come. That's a tough one. They really messed with our heads.
That's going to come. They truly have. But this virus is nothing to play with. But that's going to come back in time. As long as everybody keeps praying and staying optimistic and doing what we're supposed to.
Positivity.
Yeah, positivity and doing what we think.
And there's an election coming up too.
Right. Oh, and we have to vote on that. Vote.
Voting, absolutely. Vote.
Oh, what is your? Well, shoot, that's a whole nother. How much time we got? Oh, I gotta wrap this puppy up. What are we doing?
You know what? I think we wanted to touch on the Green Bay quarterback situation.
Oh man.
So we got Love. We start with Love.
Jumped into that earlier, but yeah, you're a Green Bay fan in Chicago, which is crazy. We always have time for sports on High Off the Glass.
We have great sports in Chicago too. That's like I was.
How are you a Green Bay fan? Well, were you a Green Bay fan because you're from there? We get that, but do you when you go to? Have you been to Soldier Field?
Oh yeah. No, I mean I'm not a Bears fan, but I like going to sporting events. I like going to Cubs games, White Sox games. It's a fun experience. Yeah.
Have you seen Packers Bears?
No, you know what? We tried to get tickets for Packers Bears at Soldier Field, and we just couldn't get good seats. And then my asshole brother got like corporate tickets from.
He got corporate tickets for the game?
Yeah, but he had to go with like the vice president of his company who couldn't take me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But, no, I've been a Packer fan forever. I mean, since Brett Favre came in after Don Mikowski, and he was throwing interceptions, throwing picks for a bit, and then just lit fire and just breathed fire.
What do you think? Hold on, we know how great Brett Favre was. My question was, what do you think of how that went down with how his career ended in Green Bay?
I think now that the dust has settled, he's okay with Green Bay. But I think it was kind of shitty, him going, especially going to the Vikings, and not really performing that great. I think but the people of Green Bay, what?
First went to the Jets first.
Right, the Jets first. Yeah, but the Jets aren't really like a division rival, so we've got the Vikings right next door. Right. There was a period where we all hated him, but I actually listened to I think it was a Wondery podcast, Sports Wars, on Aaron Rodgers and the transition with Brett Favre. And I guess they didn't get along at all. And so it'll be interesting with California.
He didn't help him out at all.
Yeah, and I mean, California boy Rodgers says he's gonna help Jordan Love out, but and I hope he does, because otherwise, without a quarterback, the state of Wisconsin is nothing. We might as well float off to Canada. In fact,
I don't think he's going to help him. I don't think he's going to help him.
I think he might. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be able to turn him into Aaron Rodgers. But Jordan Love, I mean, he's a pretty damn good quarterback. If there's a legacy quarterback that we can get, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm going to be miserable.
Okay, I get that, and you got to have a bridge to the next generation quarterback. I get that, as every fan prays and wants for their team. But you going back to the Favre thing and Rodgers, you don't put any blame on the Packers. I don't hear you say Ted Thompson at all. Ted Thompson.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The organization was problematic too.
Packers, like you don't blame them at all for.
No, I do. I absolutely do. No, it wasn't just the two guys, but that's all you see in the public. No, it was systemic. I mean, there was playing favorites. Who's the old generation versus who's coming in next. No, there were definitely issues, but I mean, there were a lot of issues of ego with Favre and Rodgers, and Favre coming to the end of his career, Rodgers starting his career as a young, I mean, Rodgers, kid got like a 4.0, at Cal, and like really smart guy and like totally different personality from Favre, but like, it was the organization. I mean, the organization was a mess, and when the loyalty starts going, that's when, I mean, it's any organization, but on the team, when the loyalty goes, then you don't have a team anymore. Some people are loyal to the coach, and some are loyal to the GM, and then you got issues like that. I mean, it's hard for them, and there should have been more cohesiveness and less favoritism and less.
But they tripped. Yeah, they really fucked that up.
Yeah, they're lucky that Rodgers ended up being the best quarterback, ever.
Well, you guys got Gordon Love. You guys, hopefully, you guys will be good. Aaron will figure something out. I'm not even thinking about football right now. I don't give a shit.
I'm just worried about Danica Patrick.
I'm worried about Danica Patrick. I'm worried about basketball. Girl. Yeah. I'm worried about basketball right now. But this is my question to you.
Well, I don't have my Bucks shirt on, but I was wearing it yesterday. I love Giannis. Giannis.
Yeah, for real, because you guys, that dude was kicking ass.
Man, we've never been better.
If he develops a jumper,
yeah.
Come on, man. What you gonna do?
He's unstoppable. If he can shoot, he's unstoppable. Because when he drives through the paint, there's nothing.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, I hope that would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun. It's always fun because Bucks have been bad forever.
Yeah.
So we just finally like make the playoffs. We got Giannis. So it's that, and they made the stadium is enormous. It's beautiful.
I'll be honest with you, man. I know this sounds kind of weird and stuff, and this is before both of us were born. But he reminds me of just a 2020 version of Kareem on the Bucks, because Kareem, drafted by the Bucks, won a championship with the Bucks back in the 70s. Of course, Kareem couldn't do everything the way he does it now, but he kind of did it back then, but just to score more, and had a shot.
Had a shot.
Had a sky hook. Giannis just has to get something else besides the dunk and low post moves. But Giannis, man.
I mean, and he's young. I mean, he's not that old. He can still be developed into that. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the best shooting coach in basketball, but I'm sure he's developing that, because I mean, he's incredible. Just to watch him is incredible. It's almost like his legs are too long for reality, and he's not taking steps. He's just floating. It's almost like an MJ thing, but he's huge, so his legs are so long. Yeah, he's good. The new MJ documentary is good too.
Oh my God, yeah. Speaking of that, man, especially you being up in Chicago, have you probably can't get a vibe for the city because you've been in quarantine. I was going to ask you, what is like Chicago's vibe right now with the Last Dance? But you in quarantine.
People are still talking about it. I still talk to people. Everyone's watching it.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching. Everyone's talking about it. It's the big thing. Because I mean, the only Bulls game I ever went to when I was a kid was at Chicago Stadium. Michael Jordan scored his 20,000th point.
Oh, wow.
And I was like 13 or 12, and the stadium had fireworks inside, and it was shaking. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, Michael Jordan, 20,000, and I'm here. And that was the only Bulls game I ever went to. But everyone's big. I mean, they're all big into that documentary. It's all people talk about when I run into them and talk to them. But it's interesting. I mean, because the word around here is, or around everywhere, is he's an asshole. But then you see that, like, you know, he's got, I mean, yeah, a little bit of an asshole, but also he's got, you know, he's the most famous guy on earth. Like,
I don't get why Scotty feels. Have you heard what Scotty said about it?
About afterwards? About back?
Yeah.
No, what do you say?
Scotty said he's hurt. He feels hurt and betrayed by the documentary. I'm like, dude, you said it. I mean, what do you? I mean, are you?
And his interviews. He seemed to be pretty fairly presented.
And these are the same answers Scotty's always given for stuff. You know, he didn't change his answers. I've been seeing Scotty say these same answers for these same questions for the last 20-something years. So.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's just it's probably just tough to be second fiddle to Michael Jordan your whole life, you know, to always be the right-hand man.
But that was the thing. People always thought that, and he acted like that sometimes, but he was okay with that. He was okay being Robin to Batman. He was all right.
Because they still together, together they were better than each one separately, you know.
Exactly. I mean, shit. Together they won. Shit.
Yep. Oh, they won and won and won and won and won. And they got Robin.
I mean, that's all they did was win. Like, shit. So, look, they ran a whole fucking decade.
I know. I wish I was older and had lived here at the time because that would be fun. We had the Blackhawks do well, but that's hockey.
Yeah. I wish to God I lived in Chicago back in the 90s because the closest I got to that was actually during Last Dance time in '98. I was when I was in the Navy. I was in boot camp at Great Lakes. And
in Waukegan.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I drive past that. I know exactly where it is.
Exactly.
on the way to court. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I mentioned that earlier. I love that area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was doing boot camp up there. I got done with boot camp. I had to go to my A school. A school is something you go to like right after boot camp, and that's you go there, and they tell you what your job is going to be. They teach you your job, then you go on leave, and then you go to wherever they station you. Wherever they station you at in the world, that's how it happens. You go boot camp, A school, you go home, and then you go to wherever they station you.
Yeah.
My A school, which was right across the street, and from out there in Great Lakes, and man, you could feel the electricity of from Chicago all the way, just the whole state. Just like everybody was just so hyped. I was up there for the finals in '98, man. It was just great. Watching those games, like it was just like, it felt like fucking 100 of us in one room just crowded around.
It gets great, man. It gets really, I mean, the whole city, when we got a team that's in the finals, the whole city, I mean, the White Sox, we still had a lot, but it wasn't as much when the Cubs went. And I mean, the whole city rallies behind their teams. It's fun. It is palpable. You can tell.
Yeah, you can feel that shit. I mean, I'm just like, with the shit with the Bulls, maybe, I wonder if it's like this with the other Chicago teams. I feel like it's like this maybe with the Cubs, where the whole state feels it. Like the state feels it. Because I know when the Bulls were winning, they felt that shit all the way in East St. Louis. You know, shit.
Right? No. I mean, it is. It spreads fast. It's pride. I mean, we're pretty proud of your state. You're like, all right, you know what? That's our team, man. That's just the way it is. So.
And most of the time, East St. Louis is, they're a part of us. They're a part of St. Louis.
Yeah. I mean, it's called East St. Louis. I haven't been there, but that was the Jazz they played against that series.
Say what?
That was the Jazz they played against that series. 6 games.
Time they played the Jazz,
yeah.
98. Hell yeah. So what does 420 Yoga have on the horizon, man? What do you guys got coming up?
You know what? We're figuring out what we're allowed to do as far as the yoga studio is open, but my partner Ellie has the blueprint in his brain or written down somewhere. So every event we're expanding and getting more people, we're getting awareness up right now of the whole thing so that we can start this movement. And then the next stage is to have a physical location, mission control. Well, not so much, but a place where we're stationed where, we want to have a lounge for smoking and then a studio for yoga. So as opposed to normal yoga now, whenever people go to yoga, nobody sits around before or after class and talks and meets each other. It's pretty much you go there and then you leave, and that's just the way it is.
Right.
We want it so that not only do you get the social aspect, but you also get the cannabis aspect, and obviously it wouldn't be decorated like your traditional, yoga intro room. I mean, but they're pretty into that. But
Beautiful.
we're looking at spaces and at partnerships, trying to figure out, how we're going to get everything together for physical brick and mortar location, and then keep doing, events that are different and exciting and interesting with different instructors. We have a whole load of instructors to pull from right now. And I just, by virtue of being a friendly guy, have made friends with them. So, so we're looking forward to having a lot of different instructors, a lot of different types of classes. We'll do some that are just, real like relaxed, not moving, like holding poses, a late night type thing, but also enhanced and really just to promote the cannabis, that cannabis can be something that enhances your yoga experience. It doesn't make it dangerous. It's not like it makes it dangerous. You're on the ground or standing. It's not like you're flying a plane. And, it can enhance your yoga experience, even based on the strain, an indica versus a sativa or a hybrid. And so we're going to try and do some like the relaxed classes, maybe recommend an indica or an indica hybrid, play more relaxed music and, do all that. And then, have some power flow classes, get some sativas and do like the real stuff. So, but and build a community. We want to build a community wherever we can, because there's not enough community right now.
Right.
Just in general, even amongst people who do yoga, there's not really a community, and people who smoke, there's a community, and it's on Twitter and it's on the internet, but it's spread out. So it would be nice. It would be great to put those two things together and let people who have never experienced yoga, or people who have been interested in trying cannabis with yoga, do that. And get people, just open people's minds to the possibilities, because there's a lot. I mean, yoga has done so much for me physically and mentally. I'm 40 and in the best shape of my life, and best mental state I've ever been in. So after a car accident a couple of years ago, it was pretty bad. So it's great. Yoga, CBD, and THC are my lifelines. So. Obviously, I don't do it during court because I have to be fully. Just as a disclaimer, I am always sober during court. I haven't been called sober. But.
No doubt. What do you prefer doing? Smoking before or after yoga?
I like before. I mean, I always do both because I smoke, but before is good because then you're actually going into the experience and you can experience it however. I mean, pretty much experience it however you want to, or however you end up experiencing it. You kind of feel how your body is that day. You feel what's going on in the class, and it's a different feeling, and like just being able to like feel some of your joints when you're moving and different positions, and like really get your mind, turning your mind down is really what you're doing, because you're focusing everything on the yoga. And then with the cannabis, there's all sorts of different things that it can benefit as far as enhancing the experience and making it so I don't want to say transcendent, but it's like an ultra relaxation. But even though you're moving, and like for people like me, it's perfect because I can have a long day of trial and get beat up and like not like physically, but beat up in court and have to go from place to place and run around, and then I can just go to the yoga studio and then I have an hour just for me. And so that's what we want, is people to have a place where they can go just for them, where we're gonna have rules, and the rules are gonna be don't worry, don't worry, be happy. That's the rule. So we just want to open.
This is one question I had for someone who I need your help because I want to do this. I definitely need 420 yoga in my life, but of course I live here. You guys are there. Are you gonna have any more virtual events?
Oh yeah,
Can I go to
Oh,
your
I'm sorry.
website
Yeah.
and see some stuff? Can I go to your website and
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the plan is to stay for even when we have events at our locations, to stay with the virtual crowd so that we can still all stay together and communicate and people can participate. Our last class was kind of an intro yoga class.
okay.
And so we have that. It's on YouTube. Our website is 420yogastudios.com, and our Twitter is 420yoga1 at 420yoga1. And if you go on the website, every time we have an event, you just click. It's 1-2 clicks, and then it's free. The free events, and then you get the Zoom code, and we all zoom in and have a celebration and socialize.
Yeah.
And then we flow, and it's just a great hour and a half to take for yourself,
Right.
and just not worry about the world. The world doesn't always have to be on your shoulders, even for someone like me, where it feels like it is sometimes.
Exactly.
Right? I've got big consequences.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Well, no, I was just saying, like sometimes when in my job where there's big consequences and big things going on, I need to separate that from my life, and I need to be able to just self-care. And this is all new to me. This is like within the last 2 years. Like I never discovered this before. It's not like I've been doing yoga forever. It's all, I'm still learning yoga and mindfulness stuff and all the stuff that's helped me, to this. And I think this 420 thing, now that it's legal, is really the next step in the evolution. And we're trying to get in early on the trend, early on the revolution, early in the community. That's really neither Ellie nor I have anything but altruistic motives. Like I really want this to work because I want people to be able. I want to share the gift I've been given with other people. I've been given the gift from other people, and I want to share that. And that's kind of why I like that we're going to stay online and with everyone.
I love it. Give your socials one more time, man. Tell me your socials, where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah. So you can find us at Twitter at 420yoga1, and the website is www.420yogastudios.com, 420yogastudios.com. You can find everything on there. You can sign up for events. You can sign up for our mailing list. And we welcome anyone. If you're a beginner, if you're a seasoned pro, smoker, or yogi, we try to tailor our classes to all levels, and just have a good time. It's an excuse, especially during this time when we're locked down. It's an excuse to get together with people and just kind of do something together, even though if it's virtual.
That's what we need, man. Thank you, Johnathan, so much for making that happen, making your company and giving people a place, an outlet where they can go so they don't feel so alone, where they can get their stresses out. They can, try to maintain some sanity. Thank you for giving them a place to do that, man.
It's much, trust me, it's much more of a pleasure for Ellie and I than you would imagine. I mean, I get so much, it gives me it gives me hope, it gives me positivity, seeing other people being able to do this. So, it's great. He and Ellie's the real brains behind the operation. I just do little stuff here and there, but he's a great business partner, and I think there's great things to come, and hopefully everybody in the world, or in the country starts to come together more after all this COVID stuff, and we can just stay mentally healthy.
John, please, when you guys start to blow up, make sure you bring High Off the Glass along with you, because we want to be there for you. We want to help document.
Oh yeah, you're in the entourage. Yeah, I don't forget where we came. I don't forget where we came from when we go Hollywood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Thank you for being on. I want to give
my pleasure.
Special shout out real quickly to GDC Global Day Commission. Man, they kind of made this happen. You checking in with them, being on with them, so it made me see you, brought us all together, man. So I just want to say shout out to God's Perfect Moron. That's my boy. And thank you, man. Johnathan, you were great, man. You were awesome guests, and thank you for breaking down what you guys do, and thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, Old the Great. I appreciate it, and yeah, anytime I'd be happy to get back on here. It's good talking.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
Holla at me, man. I'll talk
All
to you
right.
later.
All right.
Hey, y'all. Hey, this is High Off the Glass. We're about to wrap it up. Rona Chronicles, you know how we do. Keep hooping. Stay up. Peace.